Linda Vista Marina Subcommittee. But we can defer it. I'll take a couple more comments from the committee, and then go ahead.
Okay, so we had a meeting in which they've been telling us some things, and that they were asking us questions about what we want to do with this land use, which was a mobile park. And so they were suggesting that what kind of houses should we put? So does that ring a bell to you?
Well, that is part of the agenda for this
Yeah,
meeting.
yes, okay, so I'm trying to set up what I want to say. So we were doing this, okay, so now we've gone through all these meetings and we've had these suggestions come, correct? To you, Mr. Prince. And then in March, you're going to be giving us you're going to bring us in a draft of what is something that we now can give our opinions, move around, whatever, and are what we're going to be saying to you something you're going to be listening to?
Sorry, Carol, let me just respond. So I do want to say that, again, this is the 6th meeting in addition to countless other opportunities that I've spoken to people via email and on the phone to provide input, both on the vision statement and the guiding principles. With regards to land use and mobility, we have taken that input into consideration as we are moving through this process. Margie tonight wanted to actually provide a formal recommendation to the planning group on the vision statement and guiding principles so that that portion could be moved forward. Again, we've talked about this at probably 4 of the 5 meetings that we've had prior to tonight, both the draft vision statement as well as the guiding principles, and there was broad consensus amongst the subcommittee for those guiding principles in the vision statement. So we're using that as city staff to help us inform what areas should change and what the roads should look like and what our design guidelines can be. Tonight we wanted to focus on specific sites to follow up on our previous meeting regarding land use to see, did we get this right, reconfirm that so that we can then prepare more detailed design guidelines for review and further discussion and input that can help us inform the actual draft specific plan. So that's sort of the timeline of the events.
Start all over, because my question was, are you going to bring something to us for us to look at now?
Yes, absolutely.
So we are allowed to put our say into
The draft.
yeah, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, or is this something that you're saying, hey, this is what it is, and you guys, you've already said your say 3 meetings ago.
No, that was not our intent. Every opportunity that we present something is an opportunity to provide comment and change, should that be needed.
Okay.
I need a little more clarity on the question that you asked. I think you were asking if the city goes and drafts anything at this point, are they going to come back and say, look, this is what, is this what, here's our draft. What you're asking is, what kind of input is this subcommittee going to have when they bring that draft to us, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't get the answer out of him either just now. Did you?
He just said he's bringing something draft.
Tonight. But that can't be the draft, right?
No, not tonight.
No, he was going to revisit, right?
He said he was bringing.
But are you asking, what I'm trying to understand,
I want to see this is what they want to see right now. Whatever mobility, whatever item it is.
Right.
I want to see what they decided on and what the information they gathered. And then I want to see because I was here at the meeting, and I want to see, is this what I saw also at the meeting? Maybe they've added on stuff that, has to be put in, and maybe there's stuff that doesn't have to be put in.
I apologize if this isn't clear. We prepared this with the subcommittee and we made changes to it based on recommendations, specific language changes where we added in discussion about public amenities, adequate infrastructure, so on and so forth. This is the vision statement we've been operating from. These are the guiding principles that we provided. Specific language regarding improving the visual quality along Marine Boulevard, celebrating the community history history that dates back to the turn of the century, those specifically from Dave Potter that came, I think, from the second meeting that we had. So we started out with something that was slightly different, and we've made changes based on specific recommendations from the subcommittee. Another one was improve mobility for all modes, where Naveen specifically said, I want you to say for all modes. So we as city staff have gone through and made specific edits to our vision statement and guiding principles. Margie has gone forward with a recommendation to say, this is way too long, let's shorten it to this, and then she wants to make changes to these. So that's what's before you tonight in terms of whether or not you want to vote on that, and that's what's up for consideration. But we have been making changes, and we have been creating documents that is based on your input and your recommendation.
I get that. Let's take design guidelines, for example, which we haven't gotten to yet, correct? Okay. Are you going to handle the design guidelines the same way you have with mobility and with land use up to date? I mean, really, I don't feel like we covered land use adequately at all. We discussed a little bit. You showed us some, for example, on land use, Michael, on land use on the mobile home park, for example, Public Works showed us some, pamphlet on the different type of building design that could happen. Even at the point that we were discussing the guiding principles, things like, vibrant mixed use. At that point in time, we said, look, the devil is going to be in the details. So the details of all this were pushed forward. What I'm hearing now, and maybe I'm hearing it wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that you're going to be taking these guiding principles and using them very specifically to draft the plan. And we won't be a part of that specific process. Am I wrong or right?
The vision statement and guiding principles are just the introductory overview of generalized guidelines for the Morena corridor. We are trying to get to the specifics, including some tonight. And I apologize for throwing this wrench in the works about trying to shorten the vision statement because it just was cumbersome to me. There were complaints at other meetings about it being too long. I have heard that and this was rather short notice to, there hasn't been sufficient time to absorb this information, to study it, to discuss it further. I would like to table the vision statement and guiding principles once again, and we can come back to them to try to finalize them at a future meeting and move forward with some of the specifics that you all seem very eager, and I am too, to start to address. And that was a recommendation, I believe. We have a motion on the table to postpone any decision on this. Was that your motion and Harry's second?
Or if you stay with this, the existing one, this seems more detailed than the 2 broad. Short and broad. And it needs to be detailed. I think we need to know what we're up against, or what we're gonna do.
All right, the original draft vision statement that this original draft vision statement that we had given input into and finalized previously. There is I have a motion on the table already to postpone this discussion further. So we need to address that.
Just to clarify to those of you sitting out there, I received the alternate vision statement and the alternate guiding principles as I sat down at this table. I agree with James. We need to look at both of them, the previous and the one they presented to us at the table tonight, and then come back and discuss it further. So I agree with James.
And that is my fault, because I struggled with this up until just right before the meeting and felt I needed to present this, so I apologize. So let's go ahead and take a vote on postponing decision on the vision statement and guiding principles. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Oh, all right, it's unanimous. All righty. So we will decide how to move forward with this. Well, I would like to go ahead and move to the information item, which is a town center park presentation. Be a somewhat brief presentation, then we can move forward with some of our potential action items. I'd like to introduce Glenn Schmidt.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Schmidt, a longtime resident of Bay Park, and I'm a landscape architect and planner. And I just wanted to introduce some ideas about open space, because as we talk about new land use and maybe even increasing densities, to be able to have open space for folks is going to be very important. So, so my idea is to kind of starting with the whole series of issues we have. We've got our 3 stations, at Tecolote, Claremont Drive, and Balboa. And then if you look at the number of parks, we have, of course, we've got all of Mission Bay Park, but it's on the other side of the freeway, so it's not really accessible to folks in Bay Park. We've got Tecolote Park, Western Hills, South Claremont, but right around in our study area here, and actually all along Bay Park, there isn't really a ton of open space. We do want to try and create connections to Mission Bay Park and PB right next to our trolley stations. But really, when you look at kind of focus in on our study area, this is the study area with the trolley station at Claremont Drive and at Tecolote. What has been noted with the Marina Boardwalk idea is this idea of creating this, what I call it a green street, which is this corridor where pedestrians are comfortable, bicyclists are comfortable along this corridor. And taking off of the Bill Bay Park Boardwalk is the same idea. It's this idea of making it walkable and to plan our lanes in a way that's appropriate. What's interesting is that looking back at the Marina Boulevard Station Planning Area Study, they have the very similar ideas. It's just a matter of how we do that. So it seems like we have a consensus. We want to make this Marina corridor more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. And that creates that link along there between our stations. So that's that area here. So then my thought was, but what about public parks and open space? And so I have 3 spots that I looked at and this is all just for the committee's consideration, for public's consideration. This is just some ideas I have, hoping that we can be thinking about open space as we're thinking about our planning process. I have 3 different spots that I looked at. One is right here at Bay Park Elementary. It could be a mixed-use field area in the open space here. Looked at down at City Chevrolet. If that ever went away, what would we do? What could we do there? And so I thought, well, gosh, what if we took Chicago and Denver and had them go through? You might put additional single-family homes. Maybe you have multi-family home along Marina. And you can have a great public park facility for the community. These are just kind of wild, pie-in-the-sky ideas. But the real idea that I wanted to present to you tonight was this idea. I call it the Bay Park Town Center Park. And this is this area right on Marina between Napier and Ashton, right here. And this is a really interesting spot. Here's an aerial of it. Here's a luce here. And what's really interesting about this is the history of Bay Park is that, I don't know if you know that Bay Park was actually one of the original subdivisions in California. Back in 1887, it was called the Moreno subdivision. This is Mission Bay, which was False Bay at the time. This is the auction to begin sales for that subdivision in 1887. There's the Morena train station. with Halls Bay, Mission Bay in the background. That didn't go that well. They hit a recession, it didn't go well. And so it came back in 1937 as Bay Park Village. And this is the layout for Bay Park Village, which is the street system we have today. And what's interesting about this is right here was a park. This area was proposed to be a park, and here's the original sketch. So here's that parcel that I'm talking about. This is Luce here at the corner. It looks like it actually looks like it is today. This is the sketch from 1937. But they have the park surrounded by civic and commercial activity, which is really interesting. This town center, this place for people to come and to congregate and so forth. So, and this is the sales office that was on the park at the time. So my thought is, what if we what if we could do that and turn this into a park? And so I actually have this idea that we could take that into a park, and my idea is pretty wild and crazy, so bear with me. This idea of actually putting underground parking underneath, we could actually almost get 100 parking spaces, which will relieve a lot of the issues with the activities with the restaurants down at Bay Park there. This idea that we have this town square, place for folks to gather, for picnicking, playing, farmers markets, entertainment, movies, shade structures, gardens to stroll through, and community identity. So I had an intern over the summer, and I had him work with me on creating a design, what this might look like. And this is the design. I'm going to focus in a little bit on it. There's this ramp down into underground parking, open space of turf with a large, wide promenade around it. We can have farmers markets and such, sort of a stage shade structure here. And so this is how it might look with the parking underneath. This is like an isometric view of that. And this is how it might look superimposed onto the site. And here's some views down on the street with a stage structure there at night for entertainment. I thought that this also would be a great spot for a community identity sign. And so I've shown that as well, which actually is kind of stealing it from the original Bay Park Village sign that was in their sales office back in 1937. So the thought is, what if we could turn this into this? So that's my idea.
Thank you very much. Again, this is just a conceptual idea. We do need to consider opportunities for open space in our recommendations for the specific plan. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to see if the committee has any additional comments.
It's a great idea. Unfortunately, there is a fire station in that one place, so good luck in relocating that, but it's gorgeous.
So the structure you were that you were showing with the turf on top and parking underneath.
It doesn't have to have parking
Well,
underneath,
okay.
actually, it could just be.
So I'm
And
just
it
talking.
could even be, you could leave the fire station and just do the two private properties in front of the guy is simple process. Lots of
So-
different ways to do it, but it's this idea of having this central town center park for our community.
So, there is a city in Los Angeles area, it's called La Mirada. The university called Loyola. And has anybody been there?
Yes.
There is a football field, soccer field. Have you seen that? In which is the AfroTurf on top and the parking underneath.
San Diego State has the same thing.
Yes, yes.
They got
I
3
like that
stories of
idea.
parking below and a soccer field above.
I was the landscape architect for Waterfront Park, down at the County Administration Center, and that is 250 parking spaces that are underneath that park with turf and trees and everything.
So one of the things though, if it's going to be an area my question about it is, so it's going to be an area where people are going to be meandering and sitting around, so all these cars are going underneath. So is all the emissions coming up for the city?
I think we're getting into the weeds a little bit. It's
Okay.
just more of this broad concept of putting a park there, whether they're parking underneath. I mean, that's a pie in the sky kind of idea because of trying to relieve some of the parking issues and right in that town square area. But it really, it's just, the idea is for you to think about open space as we're going through this process. And this might be a really interesting idea if we could figure out a way to make it work.
Well, thank you.
Supposed to be used in the trial.
Glenn, I really like this. I like the out-of-the-box thinking and the research that you've done. I really appreciate that. Seems like we tend to go forward without looking back and looking at, false pay. People don't understand that so many things were dredged out to make what's made now, and how things have changed over the years. And so one of the things that in Pacific Beach, there's a group called Beautiful PB. And Paula had made a presentation. She's a member of that. And I'm an advisor to that group as well. One of the things we look at is sustainability. And it looks as though, I actually did a Google on your background, I believe that in working with landscape architecture, you're looking at a lot more of sustainability than people are maybe from other perspectives. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the part that I like, and I actually taking a step back from our guiding principles, and I realize that there's not the sustainability element in there. Maybe that needs to be there. Is it?
Maximize sustainable development.
Okay.
It's to be specified. Well, just to say, maximize sustainable development, come on, non-ambiguous.
Yeah.
And if we don't, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, this community doesn't define what that means, then you're leaving it up to the city to define what that means.
So actually, it is defined. There's a definition of that. It's an overlap between the economy, environment, and social community. And it looks at where the intersection of all those things are. So it's what it is putting something together that works now, but also works into the future. And that's why parks fit right into that. So I'm glad that you made your presentation, because I believe that we really need to think more about that, which has me asking the question of what the city's overlay is when they look at something, when they come in with their guiding principles. Are they looking at this from a sustainability standpoint? They have sustainable development as part of the recipe. Do they have that in there in the equation?
Yeah, yes, we do. It's part of the conservation element of the general plan, and a lot of our community plans talk about sustainability, and we will be doing that as part of this.
Good. Well, we know that the original plan that was intended to be superimposed upon Bay Park, that was not about the Marina District. That was rejected. And many people, I look at that probably wasn't as sustainable as maybe what we're looking at here with this park and with other things. If that was using the guiding principles, when people came out with the pitchforks originally, you remember this, right? It's back a little ways. But apparently that was not sustainable, and that it didn't meet people's needs right now, and people were projecting the future, and it didn't appear to meet their needs. I'm asking the question: do we really looking at this from a sustainable standpoint?
You were referring to the original study that was done that on the Marina corridor. It was a study. Sub-consultant took information from the community again, as well as assessing the corridor, the traffic, the number of pedestrians and bicycles and all that, and made some recommendations. It was not a specific plan. We are working on developing a specific plan. It's good to take some of that information from the study in light of our discussions here, because there is a lot of valuable information and recommendations in there, some of which were to make Marina Boulevard more green and improve the accessibility to Mission Bay and numerous other recommendations. But it was not a specific plan. Our goal is to work on a specific plan.
in the study, there was a lot about sustainability and a lot of great design suggestions. And I'm trying to understand the city's position from that standpoint. Are you going to take these higher standards that are in the study and apply them within the boundaries of the marina-specific plan, or were those merely fluff in the original study? In other words, everything's right there in the study, but the way I read it was this is suggested, that is suggested, but how is that going to be incorporated into our specific plan?
We will prepare the policies will be adopted, and that will become the regulations that new development will have to follow in the area.
Okay, so are you going to adopt all of your high design criteria that was identified in the marina study? Is that going to be policy for the marina specific plan?
That's what will be considered by the subcommittee.
It'll be considered by the subcommittee, okay? So let's just do a little if. If this subcommittee decides if this subcommittee decides those were wonderful design characteristics that were identified in the marina study, and we want those in the specific plan, you're saying the city is going to back us and put those into the specific plan?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you. I can take a few minutes for a couple of community comments. If you can make your comments short and go ahead and maybe make a line up here.
It might help to clarify. The city is learning as we are. Sustainability is kind of a new concept. It means it's good for the environment as well as the business as well as the residents. Not one at the cost or the expense of another. All of them must thrive. So when you guys are thinking about this, and it's the height, and it's the traffic, and it's the green, and it's the that. By the way, I love your walkable park. Where are you? I love your walkable park from Balboa to Tecolote. When you think about it from the standpoint that the city is reaching out to us for help understanding what we want to see. And we are learning about what is sustainable. What can we do that will also benefit the environment in the long run? When we're all done building it, will it still be a beautiful environment? Will it still be a healthy bay and a healthy ocean?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Dan Stewart. I'm a resident of Ocean Beach, but I was interested in the meeting. My name's Dan Stewart. I'm a resident of Ocean Beach, and but was very interested in attending the meeting. And I'm an architect as well. And I wanted to add, I think one of the things that would help the community is to be able to articulate to the city a pretty clear vision about what the character of their space is. And I think starting with an idea like Glenn's Park, which is a specific vision, can help. That provides a catalyst for driving the vision of what goes around it. I could see that park being the center of, as the old sketches showed, a really nice commercial area with restaurants and things. And so you can start with a very specific thing that will help guide the process. So maybe think about the specific spaces and the quality of those spaces.
Hi, I'm George Hetherington, and I've lived here for 70 years, and I very much agree with what Glenn is saying and what the original residents of this subdivision, this development, Bay Park Village, was that park in the village. That was central to it was a heartbreak to many of the residents here. Well, we weren't very many, we were rather few actually, but compared to today, density has at least doubled in Bay Park Village, which I define as from Milton Street north, Marina Boulevard west, one half of Frankfurt on the east, and Ashton Street. That was the village. As you showed us, Glenn, that was perfect. Since 1837, the city actually had a plan for city park space, also where the auto court used to be, which is now the property City Chevrolet. In fact, it's 2 blocks long. And originally, the auto court was only a block of that. There was a vacant lot in the back the entire time I grew up and went to this school. And people walked across there. There was much more connection with the neighborhood. Children walked back and forth to school along that path all the time. That's city space. I agree with you 100%, sir. That open space is the most important aspect of a seed that starts. Then you can address the connection between Claremont Drive and Marina Boulevard. As originally built, there was a swooping, nice turn. Today, trucks, fire trucks, emergency vehicles, police zigzag through the neighborhood to get to Marina Boulevard within 1 block of the school. That's a safety issue. We really need to address Claremont Drive right here and its connection with Marina Boulevard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I can take one more comment, and we need to move forward. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Barbara Cecil. I live in the community here. And it sounds like there's a lot of confusion as to what the city's doing and when you're doing it, and what the community where we get to provide input. And it sounds like we could use a much more detailed schedule. So is that available to us as a really detailed schedule on what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, when we provide input, what input is required, when it's required?
Yes. I meant comments in regard to the item that was at hand. So I think that you can get additional information from Cindy on that as well. All right. Since we do have other agenda items and we'll have additional time for public comment afterwards, I would like to move forward. Thank you again, Glenn, for your presentation and for encouraging us to focus on open space within the community as we give specific input to the specific plan. So we do have some potential action items regarding land use, and a couple of the, from previous meetings, a couple of the sites that were identified as potentially in need of, or that a zoning change might be of value, were the mobile home sites within our community. And Ed McCoy, who's the Vice President of Fairfield Residential Company, is going to present to us some information about the Coastal Trailer Villas site, which is the one at the corner of Marina and West Marina Boulevard. Now, we are not here to address specifics about any development, but only the concept of a change to the use of that site, potentially a change in zoning to one that would limit the number of units to 29 dwelling units per acre. So again, he's just going to be providing some conceptual guidelines or some concepts to help us better understand what 29 units per acre would potentially mean to our community.
Can you also tell us how many units per acre are currently there?
Yeah, I'll be able to.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you for having me, Subcommittee. I'm Ed McCoy with Fairfield Residential. It's been quite a meeting. I'm glad Glenn went before I did, kind of calm down the lather that was going on. So, I do want to talk about the Coastal Trailer Villas. And I do want to respectfully make a correction. This is not a mobile home park. This is a trailer, an RV trailer park. There's a big distinction between that. This RV trailer park was intended to be a transitional use. It's not a permanent use. So the idea that it's going to be there a long time was not what the original intention was. So that's just something I wanted to clarify. Before I get started, I want to talk about who we are. I think it's important for folks to know who Fairfield is. We're a local development company. We're here right here in Sereno Valley. We've been here since 1985. We're privately held, so we're not a public company. We have been around long enough where we're nationally recognized as an A-class development company. We specialize in multifamily housing, that's all we do. What we do is we build A-class multifamily. And what that means is it's a highly amenitized community. Within these communities that we build, we provide fitness centers, excuse me, sorry about that. Cyber cafes, I know you can't see it too well, but I will have these after if you want to take a look at these. You know, we have nice clubhouses, again, cyber cafes, we've got the fitness centers, resort-style pools and spas. What we're trying to do is create a very nice living environment for those folks who don't necessarily want to live in a home. And I know that a lot of you may be aware that there's a millennials, you've probably heard that term over and over again, but there is a changing demographic in our society that we need to be aware of and respond to. And that's kind of where they're looking for as well. You know, it's just a different mentality. A lot of people, young people don't necessarily, even middle-aged people don't necessarily want to live in a home. So what we do is provide these nice communities. Again, you know, wood flooring, granite countertops, all the appliances. We have garages. You know, it's a very high-class community. We also put condominium maps on these properties so they ultimately can be converted to ownership in the future if we so desire. So that's who we are. Again, we're local. I grew up in San Diego. I went to the University of San Diego. I lived in Claremont when I was in college. So we're very familiar with this site, very familiar with what this community is looking for. We've attended all the meetings, so we can assure you that we're listening and that we do intend to respond to what your concerns are. Okay, the Costa Villas. It's a 6-acre site, and there's 95 residences on it. But if you look at, this is a storage. This is storage. So if you look at just from this portion over, okay, that's 90 something, that's a little over 90 units. So this over is 20 units per acre right now on the property. Yes, sir.
Is this a site close to, because there's 2 parks, trailer parks, can you clarify which one this is?
This is the one on the corner of Marina Boulevard, West Marina Boulevard, Marina Boulevard and Frankfurt.